Detectives in Bomet Central have arrested a 28-year-old man in connection with the brutal murder of a 45-year-old woman, in what authorities are describing as a crime of passion turned deadly. The suspect, Wesley Cheryot, is alleged to have savagely taken the life of Rechealine Rutto inside her own home, leaving behind a horrific scene that would later be discovered by none other than the deceased's daughter. According to investigators, Rutto's body was found lying in a pool of blood on her bed, bearing deep cuts to the neck and multiple stab wounds to her arms, chest, and back. Following the grim discovery, officers launched an intense manhunt. The search led them to Silo Village in Kipkeliani sub-county, where the suspect was flushed out of his hideout and taken in for interrogation. In a chilling twist, Coach directed detectives to his residence, where they uncovered a number of damning pieces of evidence. Among them, a blood-stained knife wrapped in cloth, the deceased's ring, and a mobile phone containing disturbing images of Rutto's mutilated body, allegedly taken by the suspect after the killing. Detectives believe the motive was a long-standing grudge stemming from a failed romantic relationship that began in 2016. At the time, Coach was just 19 and Rutto was 36. After their breakup, Coach is said to have harbored resentment, claiming he had spent money on her during their time together and felt betrayed when she moved on. Wesley Cheryot Coach is now in custody as detectives finalize investigations ahead of his arraignment in court. Ladies and gentlemen, after hearing the full story, your mind might be stuck in one question. How is this even possible? We're in 2025. Wesley Cheryot is 28 years old. And earlier this year, on March 25th, 2025, a woman named Rechealine Rutto, aged 45, was brutally murdered. That fact was confirmed by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, through their official channels. But when we rewind the timeline back to 2016, things begin to take a chilling shape. If our math is right, in 2016, Wesley was just a 19-year-old teenager, fresh out of high school. Meanwhile, Rechealine Rutto was already 36 years old, 17 years his senior. Now, if you're Kenyan, you're probably familiar with the infamous slang terms mubaba and mumama, or as Gen Z calls them, mubabas and mumamas. These terms refer to elderly men or women who date significantly younger partners, often in relationships where societal norms are bent or broken entirely. Usually it's a young woman dating an older, wealthier man. And let's be honest, the motive is rarely love. Most of the time, it's financial. So, when it's the reverse, when a young man dates an older woman, we expect the same setup, that the older woman is providing for the younger man. But in this story, the roles are reversed. A 19-year-old boy fell in love with a 36-year-old woman, and he was the one giving her money. Strange? Very. But it happened. And that young man was Wesley Cheryot Chepkoech, born and raised in Bomet County. We couldn't trace the exact schools he attended, but we confirmed that he sat for his KCSE in 2015. His father had plans, solid ones. He wanted Wesley to join Eldoret University in 2016, but Wesley had a different dream. He asked his father for the university money, not to pay school fees, but to buy a motorbike and start a boda business. It was his choice. His father respected that. And so on a Sunday in 2016, he gave his son 250,000 Kenya shillings. That very evening, Wesley took 10,000 shillings and went to celebrate at a local club. And it was there, at that dimly lit ordinary club, that he met Rechealine Rutto. They sat together, talked over drinks, exchanged numbers. The night ended. But Wesley's obsession had just begun. By the next morning, he had already called her. They met again, secretly, in a bushy area where no one could see them. And from that moment on, Wesley was hooked. His love wasn't just deep, it was consuming. Friends tried to warn him. His family pleaded. But Wesley was lost in what some began calling abnormal love. Wesley ignored every voice of reason. He took 60,000 shillings, bought a second-hand motorbike for his boda hustle, and gave the rest of the money to Rechealine. And the money he made from the motorbike, he gave that to her too. Wesley Cheryot was in so deep, it was as if he wasn't in control of himself anymore. He could wake up in the middle of the night and demand to see Rechealine. Some say it felt like he was bewitched. His family began to despair. And when they tried to intervene harshly, Wesley attempted suicide. From that point on, they gave up. No more advice, no more warnings. They decided to step back and watch. Meanwhile, Rechealine, despite being 36, maintained her looks, pampered her face, and appeared youthful and beautiful to the outside world. That perhaps made it even harder for Wesley to walk away. He continued draining his resources, the entire 170,000 shillings that was left, plus whatever he made daily from his motorbike. All of it went to Rechealine Rutto. But as the money ran out, so did the patience of everyone around him. His friends abandoned him. Even his family began to treat him like a burden. But Wesley didn't stop loving her. He couldn't. Or maybe, just maybe, he wasn't allowed to stop. In 2016, just as the festive season approached, cracks had started forming in what had seemed like an unshakable obsession. Wesley Cheryot's boda business, his only lifeline, was no longer yielding enough. The 300 shillings to 500 shillings he earned daily could barely sustain his personal needs, let alone fund the woman he had come to idolize. Desperate to keep her impressed, Wesley made a bold and reckless decision. He sold the motorbike, his only source of income, for 55,000 Kenya shillings. Predictably, the money vanished in a matter of weeks, and by mid-December, Wesley was not just heartbroken, he was penniless. His youthful dream of love had turned into a nightmare. Then came the final blow. In December 2016, Wesley received a message that shattered whatever fragments of hope he was clinging onto. It read, in Kalenjin, "I know you love me so much, Cheryot, that you can do anything for me. I know, but I don't think this relationship is taking us anywhere. I've decided to move on, and I'd ask you to do the same. Goodbye." That was it. That single text plunged Wesley into a dark emotional abyss. At just 19 years old, abandoned by the woman he gave everything to, ridiculed by friends, and dismissed by his own family, Wesley became a shell of the person he once was. A cautionary tale in the eyes of the community, he was constantly reminded of his failure. No one offered support, only judgment. And herein lies the tragedy. He wasn't just dealing with heartbreak, he was battling psychological torment. Every time he sought help, his past choices were thrown in his face. And when a person's environment refuses to forgive, healing becomes a battlefield. Wesley was fighting on all fronts, against himself, against society, and against memories that refused to die. His mental health deteriorated fast. By early 2017, Wesley attempted to take his own life by throwing himself into river Seonggi. He was rescued just in time, but the pain lingered. Meanwhile, Rechealine had moved on with her life, and with another man. Wesley's days were marked by silence, isolation, and hopelessness. Year after year, he withered, until the fateful night of December 31st, 2024. That evening, a friend invited him to a New Year's Eve kesha, a church night vigil in Bomet town. Wesley went, perhaps looking for peace. But what happened that night would plant the seed of vengeance deep in his soul. As midnight drew near, a pastor, in classic African Pentecostal style, picked Wesley from the congregation and began to pray for him. Wesley collapsed multiple times under the weight of the prophetic declarations. The words that followed were chilling. "You have lived like a cursed man. Someone used a love charm on you. She took everything from you, not just your money, but your destiny. Had you not come here tonight, you would have died soon. But God has delivered you." The crowd cheered. Wesley remained on the floor, dazed. In that moment, a different kind of spirit entered him. Not peace, but fury. Vengeance. The next morning, January 1st, 2025, Wesley woke up like a man possessed. He kept asking himself, "Why did I ever fall for that woman?" He began plotting in silence. And 3 months later, the storm arrived. March 24th, 2025, a Monday. Rechealine had no idea it would be her last full day alive. On the morning of March 25th, Wesley made his move. He tracked her down, and in a violent act fueled by years of obsession, betrayal, depression, and now spiritual vengeance, he ended her life. Her daughter discovered the body hours later, lying in a pool of blood. A scene no child should ever witness. Wesley fled, but not to freedom. For days, he was on the run, yet every step brought him closer to justice. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, was closing in. And on April 4th, 2025, less than 2 weeks after the murder, DCI officers smoked him out of hiding. He was arrested and remains in custody awaiting trial. Now, dear viewers of LifeLens TV, the question we pose to you is not just about guilt, but about the layers beneath this tragedy. Was Wesley truly in love? Or was he manipulated by charm and desperation? Was Rechealine's love genuine? Or was she simply after a young man's money? And most importantly, does any of this justify murder? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to LifeLens TV. And tap the notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed.